Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Tonight we leave the plains of Texas for the English Midlands, having originally opened 90 years ago. This very quick I guess a little bit less than 2.5 mile circuit has had a long and varied history. And while it has changed ownership many times over the past 50 years, its layout has changed little. It's a track that definitely mixes sweeping high-speed corners with some straightaways as well. And thankfully, we're not going to be running those very tight hairpins towards the end of the lap. And therefore, you're going to see some very quick lap times here tonight. Welcome, everybody, to the rolling hills of the Donington Park Estate for round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, presented by Performa Elite here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod with Director Extraordinaire John Grabowski, working the scenes, behind the scenes, to give you all the best views of tonight's action. And so, good evening, Larry, and welcome to the home of Stilton Cheese and pork pie, and my favorites, Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, 1 out of 3 is not bad. Pork pie, huh? Hey,
Pork
Greg,
pie,
how's it going? Yes.
I mean, after we had beef barbecue and pork, not so much pork barbecue last week or 2 weeks ago.
All right, so yeah, welcome to the National Circuit at Donington, where we get to run the fun loop and not the unfun hairpins, which does make this place very difficult to pass, but it's going to be interesting because we have multi-class racing, which means passing is inevitable. It's just whether or not it's going to be safe. A lot of the corners around here can be treacherous, as Bob Brooker once said. So I'm looking forward to this run here tonight. I don't know that I've ever called a race at Donington, so it's the first time for me.
I went back, Larry, and we did. Back in 2021 for the Classic Sprint Series. That's right.
Yes, you're right. We did, but I think we used the suicidal hairpins tonight.
Yes.
We are not, so I think it's an upgrade there. Maybe that's why I forgot. It was selective memory, but I'm looking forward to this tonight. I do always love me some LMP3s and some good old GT4s. So I think it's be a good time tonight.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to it. And so, Larry, let's do this. Why don't we turn things over to Kevin Ford, And given that I think Kevin actually did load up the correct track guide tonight, because originally it was with the hairpins and it wasn't a Miata. Let's turn things over to Kevin Ford, who spent this morning driving around Donington in his BMW M4 GT4 for tonight's track guide of Donington Park.
Welcome everyone to Donington Park, located here in Leicestershire, England. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this 2-mile, 10-turn course. It's short, it's fast, but boy, is it a lot of fun to drive. The pit area to the left here, you'll see the entrance as we go by underneath the walkway here, and we will cross. There's the start-finish line as we head down towards turn 1 here. Very heavy braking into this tight entry closing radius corner as we come through the apex and get a nice launch up off the exit there and head down the downhill S's here through turn 2. We'll come right back to turn 3 here to the left. We'll stay right on those curbs to help that car rotate. We'll get down into turn 4 here, come right back to throttle, use up every bit of that exit. So we head underneath Starkey's Bridge there through turn 5. This will bring us up towards turn 6 and then into the double right-handers of 7 and 8. As we come around 7, right back to throttle. Get up into 4th gear here, and then we'll drop down into 3rd for this blind entry of turn 8. Get a nice run through there, come right back to throttle, up off of 8. Out onto the backstretch now, a very short backstretch, but it is an opportunity to get an overtake done here into the final chicane. Down through the gears, we'll get a nice run on the entry here, right back to the left, up off that final corner, and then back down across the stripe. There you go. There's your track guide for the amazing Donington Park. Thank you for being with us.
And thanks so much to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of Donington Park, the National Circuit. And Larry, I'll tell you, without those hairpins, it is fast. But I think, as you mentioned, you alluded to, I think especially for the LMP3 cars, it's going to make very difficult evening for making passes around here. There just aren't a lot of opportunities, and you don't even have a ton of really heavy braking opportunities, except maybe into turn 1 here, where it might be advantageous for them.
Passing's tough. It tends to be done more on somebody else's mistake than necessarily your own merit. But I think tonight, of all nights, with only the 60-minute format, is the undercut could be hugely powerful here.
Yes.
Pit strategies, saving fuel could be massive if you could just get an extra half a second or 1 second shorter a pit stop than somebody else. Could be a massive advantage tonight, and I think that's what we'll be looking for. Who can take advantage of those small little minutia that often in a big, long race gets lost? Tonight, I think it would be very, very important.
Yeah, I think we're going to be watching those pit lane deltas pretty closely tonight. Not a very long pit lane here at Donington Park either. So definitely something for us to look for, even though we've got that just a 1 hour time limit on the clock for tonight's race. We're still going to see all of our drivers, most likely all of our drivers, need to bring their cars in for pit stops here and some fuel. So we are now, Larry, right into qualifying, our 15-minute qualifying session, where we give each driver 4 flying laps, 4 opportunities to set their fast lap and set the grid for this evening's race. And we're currently watching Russ Ruddick in that number 95 BMW. He is out on track and starting his first flying lap now. And in the case of Russ, you can tell that he is one of our GT4 AM category drivers. He's got the green mirrors and green windshield banners. He's got a green number board on the side of his car, as well as green end plates on the wings. There you go. And those number boards match the overall paint scheme there of the 95. And we hopefully will see time in the books for him as we follow him along this sweeping, undulating track. And tell you what, let's move over now to Kevin Ford, who is one of our pro category drivers. And John keeps bringing up cars and drivers where those number boards match the match the livery of the paint job. Kevin is Kevin is one of our pro category drivers. You can tell he's in the pro class because he's got the red mirrors and red windshield banners. He's got a red number board on each door of his BMW, as well as
And
red end
paint
plates
scheme
on the wings.
a red paint scheme on his BMW.
That's right. And I was alerted, Larry, that is known as Ricmotech Red, by the way, as we now jump over to Travis Schwenke, who early on with a single flying lap is our provisional pole sitter in his Ligier LMP3 machine. The Orion Racer, you could tell, you could tell he's at an LMP3 because, well, it's a prototype car and it doesn't look like the other GT cars. But all the prototypes, you'll see they've got the orange number boards and mirrors. They've got the orange end plates on the wings, but not an orange windshield banner, a black windshield banner. And that's how you're going to be able to tell them all apart. If you take a look at our timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, they're broken down by those colors as well. And Mike Dam now jumping to an early provisional pole on his first flying lap. Looks like his second flying lap is going to be invalidated.
Just about jumping off the track.
Yes.
That's a fast lap, though. You're talking about almost 1 minute to go ripping around this little circuit. That is absolutely flying, just like the airplanes on display scattered around the circuit. But very, very cool. And of course, some fast drivers on display as well this week, including Justin Ream, currently the fastest of the GT cars.
That's right, Justin Ream there. Currently your fastest driver in GT4 Pro with a 109.10. Should mention, Larry, that during the week in practice, Eric Violette was just tickling that 1 minute mark. Actually got down to a minute flat and was very close, obviously, to getting under 1 minute. He was your fastest of the LMP3 drivers, LMP3 drivers. And then Ken Copeland was your fastest GT driver with a 108.97. Let's just call it a 109 flat there. And you can see that Justin Ream pretty darn close to that already. Ken Copeland not all that far off his times from earlier in the week at a 109.2. So we're only looking at a couple hundredths of a second separating Ream and Copeland now up at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, pretty tight going on there, and then it's still tight at the top of the LMP3s as Travis Schwenke has taken over that provisional spot there on his third lap, now out there working his fourth.
There we go. So he's on his fourth flying lap, and one of these laps are only taking about a minute or a little bit over a minute, Larry. I think we might be left with a lot of extra time here at the end of qualifying. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should give him like another 7 or 8 laps. Let's quickly take a look back as Mike Dam brings his car down the pit lane, and Travis Schwenke now completing his last flying lap with a minute .33 there, and that is going to wrap things up for him. Brandon Whitworth has put in his fourth and final flying lap at a 109, probably a minute .87. And Kyle Stryker is currently sitting fifth. We've got Mike Dam and as well as Michael Brooks sitting second and third. Currently, both of those drivers have completed their laps.
Yeah, Eric Violette has not yet put a lap in. You were mentioning earlier how during the week his practice times were the only ones to eclipse that, that's the sound barrier, so to speak, that 1 minute barrier. We're yet to see him throw his lap times down. Again, with only a minute per lap plus an out lap, easy to wait until the end as he traditionally does. We'll see what he can do in his qualifying in a few minutes, probably realizing how critical qualifying is going to be considering how tough it is to pass around here. Also looking to see if Baron Glover finishes with his qualifying, because I think he's supposed to be our pre-race.
Indeed he is, and I don't have him yet sitting in the green room.
We'll give him a few minutes.
We'll give him a couple moments there. Is Glover currently sitting sixth here tonight in qualifying. And one other LMP3 driver that has not seen about putting in a time, Aaron Beaver in the number 97 machine. We'll see if he brings that car out, but we are on board right now with we were on board with Eric Violette as we're now taking a look at David Payton, Eric's D2D teammate in the number 64 Aston Martin. And Payton just now starting his third flying lap, currently sitting seventh in pro. All right, so Larry, let's quickly, before we see Glover show up, and actually Barron is sitting in the green room, so I want to get through this pretty quickly. In LMP3, taking the win at COTA 2 weeks ago, was Eric Violette, who took his very first win on the season. He started third. Mike Dam, your pole sitter, finished second, and a great finish for Robert Hartley, who finished sixth, or probably started sixth in the field. He took the bronze, with Schwenke and Strikers rounding out the top 5. Point standings in LMP3 at the moment. Mike Dam is your points leader with 255 points. He's got an 8-point advantage over his Orion teammate, Travis Schwenke. Kyle Strikers is sitting third in the championship. Strikers sitting 4 points back from Schwenke with 243, and then Eric Violet and Michael Brooks. If we go over and then start taking a look at the GT4 cars, Team Collusion's John Sterling took his first win of the season 2 weeks ago at COTA with a margin of victory of a little bit over 6 seconds over the Midfield Motorsports Aston Martin of Tom Jenkins. Interestingly enough, those drivers, Jenkins started on the second row, Sterling started on the third. Ian Patience, who started on the outside of the front row, best he could do was finish third. And your pole sitter, Alex Brown, from Team Collusion, he finished back and forth with Brad Husty finishing in 5th. And if we take a look at the point standings now in GT4 AM, with 5 rounds complete in the championship out of 8, it is Leo Dragota, still your points leader by 22 points. Should mention that Leo Dragota, he started 11th at COTA, finished 6th. So still had a bit of a points haul there. Chuck Labano from Frito Sport, currently sitting second in the championship, as we mentioned, 22 points back from Dragota. And then Ian Patience, our first McLaren driver in the GT4 AM field. He is only 2 points back from Chuck Labano. Should also mention that Patience had incurred a 1-point penalty 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, he'd only be a point back from Chuck Labano. Alex Brown currently sitting third in the championship. John Sterling, as you can see, they're sitting 5th. And then finally in pro, it was Justin Ream with his 3rd win of the season. He's taken 3 out of the 5 races for Geodesic Racing. Mariano Barrios finishing 2nd, was not able to follow up his initial win 4 weeks ago. The Walking Pace Racing McLaren driver, again finishing 2nd. Ken Copeland from Team Esport Racer finishing 3rd in his Mercedes, with Jeff Jacobs in the BMW, and Brendan Horan in his Mercedes finishing 4th and 5th. And if we take a look at the point standings in pro, with those 3 wins, it's Justin Ream, and he has a 12-point advantage right now over Team Esport Racers Ken Copeland, with 262 to 250. 20 points back from there is David Payton from D2D Racing and his Aston Martin, and then Brendan Horan, also from D2D, but driving a Mercedes, sitting 4th in the championship, only 4 points back from there. And then, well, it's another D2D racer. It's Chris Thorman, but he is a pretty big distance back. He's 32 points back from Warren, and 68 out of the championship now, sitting in 5th. All right, so Larry, we've got Baron Glover from the Wrong Stuff, driver the number 13 Ligier. Why don't we bring him on in?
All right, joining us tonight pre-race is Baron Glover, and pretty quick to get these laps in here tonight. What do you think of Donington so far in your LMP3?
It's really a tight track. Oh, first off, thank you guys for having me on. It's a tight track. I kind of like it. It's a lot like Mosport and a lot like Road Atlanta in some respects. So it should be fairly interesting trying to get by the GT4s tonight.
Yeah, it could be. We're not using those back-to-back hairpins, which may or may not be a good thing, but certainly makes any opportunities to get by everybody. Seems even the best ones are still going to be a bit on the treacherous side. So it should be an interesting night from that standpoint. But so far this season, you've been having some pretty good battles. Are you watching the standings? Is there somebody you got your eye on that you want to try and get past here with tonight's points?
No one in particular. I think I'm fairly close to some other guys, and we usually have a good battle every week or every other week. So hopefully that continues. Hopefully I got my gremlins out of my system from COTA last race.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a tough track, but hopefully a different thing going to be able to happen for you here tonight. But it should be an interesting race. But so far, you've been in now got a couple of seasons under your belt here in the Ricmotech series. What have your overall thoughts been in terms of your experience in the various Ricmotech series?
I think it's a fantastic series. I enjoy it. I know the guys that run it, Kevin and the team, put in a ton of work, and it really shows. Everything here is top notch, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and you've also been a part of one of the bigger teams that we've got here in the Ricmotech series, the Wrong Stuff. We've seen success in all the classes, it seems, every single week. Has the Wrong Stuff team associations that helped you a little bit? Do you like having a whole bunch of other guys from that team in the sessions and being a part of your race?
It has, in one way. It's kind of pushed me a little bit, to try a little bit harder and do a little bit more. But on the other hand, there's a little bit more pressure. So you got to kind of balance one against the other. I'm trying to do good for these guys. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good. It's always going to be pushed a little bit. And tonight, I think everyone's going to be pushed here in this little bit tighter format. But so I do wish you the best of luck tonight. Anybody you want to give a special shout out to here before you get started tonight?
To my wife, who's my biggest fan, to the Extreme Motorsports guys and all their sponsors who put this together and keep it going, and to the Wrong Stuff, Dre Divock, and the guys over there, a great team.
All right, well, Baron Glover, good luck tonight. Maybe with any luck, we'll get to talk to you in about an hour.
Hopefully. Thank you.
All right, there you go, everybody. Baron Glover from the Wrong Stuff, driver of the number 13 Ligier, here tonight at Donington Park. And Larry, I hate to be in this kind of position, but I've got to apologize to Bobby Childs. He has corrected me. It is no longer D2D e-racing. It is now D2D sim racing. And so now, old habits die hard. I'm going to have to correct that. So
we'll make that note.
Yes, we will make that note. Sorry, Bobby. Bobby is watching us tonight and working on liveries. So
the best way to fix the commentators is to put it on the podium at the end of the night. And I know they got a couple of guys from D2D Sim Racing. They're going to have a chance to do that. So
that's right. And yeah. Bobby, as long as you're working on liveries, if you could just use like 10 or 12 inch tall letters for sim racing on the side of your car next time, that'll help us. All right. So, Larry, we've got our drivers gritting up for tonight's 60-minute run to the checkered flag here from Donington. Tell you what, I'll take the GT, or probably the LMP3 cars if you'll take the GT cars.
Sure.
Here tonight, starting on pole with a qualifying time of 1:329. And he waited all the way to the very end, but it was worth it. Eric Violette from D2D Sim Racing. Travis Schwenke will start on the outside of the front row. He was only 5/1000ths of a second off of Violet's qualifying time. And the Orion Racing driver will start second tonight. Mike Dam from Orion. He's going to start third, with Michael Brooks from the Wrong Stuff starting fourth. Brandon Whitworth starting fifth tonight, with Kyle Strikers from SRT Esports starting in sixth. Baron Glover from the Wrong Stuff, you just heard from him. He's got he's going to have a tough race tonight if he's going to be talking to us at the end of the evening, but he starts on the inside of row number 4 tonight. And then Marlon Jones from Lead Ball Racing in the number 25 Ligier, he's going to start 8th. Baron Beaver, we'll have to see. I don't know if Beaver actually set a qualifying time, Larry, but I am showing him as being on the grid.
Yep, he set a practice lap, but not a qualifying time.
And not a qualifying time, exactly. So the Aerokinetics driver, he's going to start tailing Charlie in LMP3, starting in 9th.
All right, split starts again tonight. So while those LMP3s will get their green flag, we'll wait on the GT4s, and leading them will be Justin Ream on the pole tonight there from Geodesic Racing. And he's able to get to that pole just ahead of Ken Copeland, who'll be on the outside of row 1. On row 2 is going to be Mariano Barrios on the inside, and he'll be lined up with Chris Thorman from D2D Sim Racing on the outside of row number 1. On row number 2. On row 3 on the inside, it's going to be Kevin Ford, and he'll be lined up alongside Neil Weston from HTPK Racing. On the following row, you're going to have Brennan Horner from D2D Sim Racing, and he'll be lined up alongside a teammate of his in David Pate. On the following row, you got Tom Jenkins from Midfield Motorsports lined up alongside Jeff Jacobs from SDK Foundation. Then you've got Lucas Dragota from the Dragon Sport Racing lined up along with Ian Patience from The Wrong Stuff. Following them, you got John Sterling from Team Collusion with Chuck Labano from Frito Sport Racing. You've got Russ Ruddick from Flying Tortoise. He'll be lined up alongside Frito Sport's Greg Brockway. And then you've got John Casey starting on the back with Frito Sport Racing.
All right, there you go, Larry. And as you say that, the pace car is on the pit lane, turning the field over to Eric Violette, and the green flag is in the air, and our LMP3 drivers are racing here at Donington. We can see that Wrong Stuff machine poking to the outside, trying to make a run all the way down around side. Travis Schwenke cannot get that done, and that is Michael Brooks going side by side with Mike Dam through the very tight turn one, with Violet and Schwenke just ahead. Brandon Whitworth behind as our GT4 drivers now coming to the green. Green flag for GT4 with Ken Copeland in the Mercedes cutting right across the nose of Justin Reams' Air Kinetics McLaren, who's going to slot in the second. Mariano Barrios in his McLaren trying to hold off Chris Thorman from D2D as they go through turns 1 and 2 and now start to make the run through the Craner curves.
Great start for Ken Copeland in that Mercedes to jump just ahead of Justin Ream. That was a really good start. We know how difficult this place is to pass. That's a good opportunity taken on that opening sequence there. A little further down the order, Brennan Horn moving up a couple of spots. We'll keep our eyes on him right there in that number 45, currently behind Kevin Ford. And then we've got a spin. Is that Brooks?
That was Michael Brooks that went off track there, and I think Mike Dam might have been involved as well, as those two drivers now drop to the very back of the probably the LMP3 field now with a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, they were up there in those front 2 or 3 rows and having a heck of a battle as Brooks had gotten alongside Dam there early on, but looks like as they came through that start-finish chicane there, that's just going to cost them a lot of position, as now we've got coming up down on the front straight, down on the outside. It looks like it's going to be the 60 of Thorman with the advantage on Dragota there in the Aston Martins.
All right, Larry, let's take a look and see exactly what happened with Michael Brooks and Mike Dam there on lap number 1, as they are all making their run down Starkey Straight. They're going to have that little bend under braking that'll bring them onto the front straight. Ooh,
well, yeah, somebody found out the ABS does not work all that well in an opening lap. That was Michael Brooks, who probably a little bit of a side swipe to Mike Dam, but yeah, clearly Brooks there, a little trouble there on the cold tires opening lap.
And Anna Brooks in the chat, Larry, with the big shocked face there when she saw that. Sorry, Anna. All right, let's take a look. It
could have been a lot worse, I'll say that.
It could have been far, far worse there, as we're on board now watching. We've got Jeff Jacobs in the number 38 SCCA Foundation car. He's got Alex Brown directly behind. Brown currently running second in GT4 AM. And Brown hoping to get around not only Jacobs, and there's a pretty big gap between Jacobs, then Brennan Horn, and Kevin Ford, who have been running side by side in the turn 1, because just ahead of those two drivers is our GT4 AM leader, Leo Dragota from Dragon Sport Racing. And he is starting to get away from Alex Brown very early on.
Trying. We'll see how he does here, as he's got, of course, Gorman there in front of him. A pretty good run here for Dragota early on.
Yeah, the 118 Porsche early on with a very good run here. And again, Leo trying to hold on to that GT4 AM points lead. Pretty good size lead at this point at 22 points, but certainly. As we get to the back half of the season, looking to
I'll do my
that
best
as much as you can.
I'll do my best Bobby Childs impression and correct you that is not a Porsche that he's driving. It's an Aston Martin. He drives a Porsche in the GT3s in the World Challenge. He drives a Porsche, but here he drives the Aston Martin.
Thank you,
only one in a Porsche tonight, just in case you're keeping track at home. It's Neil Weston driving the only Porsche in the field here in GT4s.
And that is one of our 718 Porsche Caymans that he is running. Thank you very much, Bobby. All right, Larry, let's take a look here. I think Alex Brown having some issues here early on as he's got his car on the pit lane. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened. He started to run a little wide here.
Yeah, you get a little wide down there at that turn 4 hairpin, and it's tough to get back on. He does. Let's see how well he does.
Yeah, but then what happens that he ends up in the pits? I'm just wondering if that's the end of the sequence or not.
Well, it certainly is a course cut that he would have to serve a penalty, but typically those are time-based penalties. As the 78 of Casey going slow there as the front of the field in the LMP3 starts roaring through.
Yeah, he was trying to find the easiest way possible to let all of them through. I think we just saw, we saw the leaders in LMP3 trying to get around that number 78 Mercedes.
Yeah, that's Marlon Jones, and it may have been Aaron Beaver and Mike Dam right in front of him. That's Jones there in the 25. Led Paul Racing entry with his Toblerone paint scheme. As you can see right in front of him should be Mike Dam, who had that spin earlier. Now Mike trying to get down the inside of Aaron Beaver and possibly alongside Baron Glover. Glover, of course, our pre-race interviewee. As you can see Beaver there in the aerokinetics entry as we go on board with Mike Dam. Going to go inside, outside, something around Brockway, and he gets there, but it gets slippery down the hill, and he's got, of course, Beaver on the outside, and the aerokinetics entry. He's going to let him go through again. That whole downhill sequence is sketchy, and this also, here we go, we talked about how difficult it was going to be to pass. Certainly between the two classes is almost, should be easier than within the class, but look at this, like a rush hour traffic.
This is maddening, Larry. It's a tight, narrow little track, and I'm also noticing, Larry, we're getting a lot of brake lockup. It looks like from Mike Dam there through that last corner. You can see I believe it was the right front wheel getting a lot of action and popping over the curb once again. I think that was Aaron. Was that Aaron Beaver that had some braking issues there going into that final corner, leading onto a Wheat Cross Straight?
Oh, this traffic is nuts. It's like the M25 out here. That's crazy. It is.
Oh my gosh. Four wide, Larry, going into turn 2.
Yeah, and of course, right in the middle of it all, I think that's Peyton just trying to stay out of the way there.
That's right.
Jeff Jacobs trying to do his best to check all his mirrors.
Oh, jeez.
Not enough mirrors on these cars.
No.
As Mike Dam now to the inside of the D2D sim racing entry, of course.
Oh my gosh! As Barron comes right underneath one of the one of the
Tom
midfield.
Jenkins, in the midfield motorsports number 68. Now you got the two wrong stuff entries right next to each other, of course, with Brooks and Glover. Brooks should be the faster of the two. He is ahead, but now he's got to find his way through this chicane between the straights.
Oof. It's Jeff Jacobs.
So tight.
And you can see where the BMW of Jacobs was able to actually outbrake that wrong stuff machine right next to him. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Well, Baron Glover, he's got, of course, that's Jones in the 25, who got a much cleaner run through the chicane as the Jeff Jacobs entry was holding up Michael Brooks just a little bit. This is all kinds of mayhem here. Again, we're only 8 minutes into 60 minutes of this.
All right, let's take a look, Larry. This is David Payton from D2D Sim Racing, along with Ian Patience in the number 21 McLaren. Patience currently running third in AM. Payton behind, sitting tail on Charlie in Pro.
Oh, no.
And look, the second time off tonight, Mike Dam off into the gravel. And we've got one of our D2D racers, Chris Thorman, off as well, off into the gravel trap there, Larry.
Yeah, that is all kinds of mayhem here, and I'm sure John's going to get us the replay.
Was that coming out of? I think that was coming out of turn 8, coming out of Coppice. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened.
Yes, there's Thorman with. And that's the two entries there from Orion. And actually, it looks like it's Orion and Orion that starts it as Dam gets into the back of Schwenke, I think that was, and then eventually slides into Thorman, who's doing his best to not come out of the track too quickly. Boy, that was awfully sketchy. As
Yeah, I was going to say that was either Schwenke or it might have actually been the back of Stryker's car, Larry.
It may be, yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I believe that's the SRT Esport machine of Stryker's that he gets into the back of, and yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah, SRT paint scheme looks a little bit like the Orion paint scheme, so that was my mistake there.
Yep, and unfortunately, the D2D racer, the unintended recipient of that damage there. As we jump back now, this is the battle for the lead here, Larry, with Eric Violette and Travis Schwenke. So again, I don't think Schwenke was.
Yes, you're right. Schwenke's got the blue with the green and not the yellows, as would be the case in Stryker's car.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the yellow is their teammate when he is here, Robert Hartley, but I don't believe Hartley is in the field this evening.
Not tonight.
And now we'll see. Now we'll see as our leaders try to pick and choose their times through traffic here.
That's Neil Weston in our lone Porsche Cayman in the field tonight. He's just going to try and stay out of the way of these leaders. And look at that curve. Look what it does to the fastest car in the track. Eric Violette even he can't be safe from those curves going through that chicane.
Yeah, and it is so interesting looking at that corner there, Larry, compared to when we run the two chicanes on the larger course, the Grand Prix course. Because you do have some elevation change right in the middle of the corner, and it is camber-wise, there's no camber, but you have that drop down and you have the almost immediate rise up right past the apex there. Very, very difficult, and more importantly, very, very tight. All right,
let's take a look at the GT4 now. Again, Ken Copeland had jumped to that lead right off the gate. As soon as that green flag dropped, he was gone, and he's doing pretty well here. He's got a 1.5 second advantage already on Justin Ream. So Copeland making the most of that opportunity and trying to keep that gap between he and those two McLarens back there, both Ream and Barrios in McLarens, while Copeland's in the Merc tonight.
That's right, and you can see there, he's got a lot. He's obviously got to watch the mirrors behind for the GT. For the LMP3 traffic, pardon me, but nothing ahead as he continues that very good gap between he and Ream and Barrios, as Barrios has been closing down on Justin Ream here in the last couple of laps. The 188 machine looking for his second win on the season here in the McLaren as well as Ream.
Well, again, race is not the longest, but it's certainly long enough for a battle like this to get a little bit closer. And there you can see, look at that lap time for Copeland versus Ream and Barrios. Ream taking 0.6 out of Copeland's lead on that one lap alone. It's all going to come down to traffic management. How quickly can you let the LMP3s come on through? As that should be Mike Dam trying to ask nicely, can I come on through here, please? As Marlon Jones continues to have his battle there with Baron Glover. Those two have been together here for a little while.
All right, as we jump back over to the battle for the lead, as Schwenke is starting to close things up a little bit once again on Eric Violette, as they are just hitting a never-ending stream of GT4 traffic here, Larry. And this is going to be a difficult one to call. And I'm wondering, I know it's very early on, and we're nowhere near the pit window for the GTP cars, which is opens up somewhere around lap 19, lap 20.
As Schwenke runs wide around the McLean's corner, always tough to keep the car in check around a lot of these corners. Some of them are blind, they're a little bit off camber, they go up and over crests of hills, and so Schwenke right now, having now gotten further back behind Violet because of the traffic, but I think that'll change as the traffic just kind of happens into this accordion effect. But look at Violet just picking his way through up there.
So Larry, we've talked about this, I think, in the past a little bit, but for these LMP3 cars, for these Ligers, under braking, if they do need to get out of the throttle quite a bit because of the slower GT cars ahead of them, as they come into like a heavy braking area, like that turn out of Starkey's onto the front straight, does that remove some of the aero downforce that they have at the front of the car there, make it a little bit more difficult? I mean, we are seeing a lot of brake lockups from them.
Yeah, these cars always tend to have a little bit of push. They are if anything, that's probably the most difficult thing, is to do that brake and trail braking on these things. You need to get back onto that throttle quickly in these cars, and if you can't, it gets out of your rhythm of how these cars have to be chucked around. They're not the hardest to drive, but then again, they're not the easiest to drive fast. And so I think when you're in these, you've got to really watch how you overtake someone on corner entry. Sometimes my tendency would be to wait till the next corner if you have to, get them on the corner exit, not necessarily on the entry. But right now, this battle is so tight between Violet and Schwenke that I think both of them are sort of, between Violet and Schwenke, taking chances. They're just trying to get on through. Speaking of chances, Aaron Beaver is off and back on again.
And I think Brooks as well.
Yep, so it's at least 3 times now that he's been off and back on, and I think that's his teammate right behind him now, Baron Glover, those Wrong Stuff team, getting to say hi to each other one more time.
He's there for emotional support. But he also noticed that that Schwenke had made it through a lot of the traffic. He had nothing but clear track between he and Eric Violet. But you know, the gap now between those two drivers, almost 3 seconds. So you know, at this point, Schwenke definitely has his work cut out for him as we jump back over to the battle of. This is the battle for 4th in, or probably the battle for 3rd in GT4 AM. Why I am confused tonight. As we just had Ian Patience.
Make it the battle for 2nd.
So yeah, the battle for 2nd, because we just had. Who was that we just had dropped down? Was that John Sterling that had gone off, or was that Tom Jenkins?
Might have been Jenkins.
Yeah,
but,
Jenkins.
That's all right. At this point, it's Ian Patience, Chuck Labano, and John Sterling right now, all running nearly nose to tail, with Patience right there in the 2nd spot in AM. Currently, I think he's 8th overall in GT4 there, his McLaren, but he's got a whole train right on his tail of Peyton Labano and Sterling.
Yeah, so let's take a look and see what happened to Tom Jenkins here, as I was having, you know, issues talking.
Jenkins. Yep.
And just loses the rear end there, coming through McLean's and going in the coppice there. Just the rear end sticks out, and I suspect here that that's probably what we saw early on with the earlier on with the two LMP3 cars. Yeah,
coppice is an interesting corner there because it kind of rises. You have to turn in early enough, but the thing rises and the car will get light. And if the turning isn't done yet, if you kind of early apex and you need the car to turn late, it's not going to happen. And I think he might have just learned that lesson. As once more time around we go, on board with Labano in the Mercedes, trying to chase down the Aston and the McLaren out in front of him.
That's right, so Labano currently running 3rd, and Michael Brooks should mention that Brooks had brought his LMP3 car into the pits as we had seen him go off earlier. Let's take a look and see what happened here with Brooks.
Again with Brooks, just loses it, and
well, that's one way to go to the pits.
And that's right about where he's heading, and unfortunately,
exactly. It's a short
he might have just said,
Larry.
Yeah, he might have just said that's enough for tonight. So unfortunately, Anna, that's a rough night for Michael's racing.
Yeah, sorry, Michael, but yeah, that was very difficult. All right, let's jump back over to GT3, and we've got again Ian Patience with running 2nd in AM, David Payton in that D2D sim racing Aston Martin, and then we've got Chuck Labano in his Mercedes currently running 3rd, just as our LMP3 drivers are trying to work their way through. As we've got, I believe this is Baron Glover and Mike Dam now slicing their way through this line of 5 GT4 machines.
They're trying. It's not easy as they go around that turn 1 red gate and start plummeting down this hill. There's a lot of elevation change here through the Craner curves, turns 2 and 3, down to what they call the old hairpin. If you need to know what that is, Google it, you'll figure out the track used to be. But they still call it the old hairpin. And then under the bridge, Starkey's Bridge, and then up the hill toward McLean's, and just watch just in a train of GT4 cars. And I suspect as soon as the pit windows really open, which it should be soon, we're going to start seeing quite a few dive in just to get out of some of this traffic and get a breather for a second.
just checking the chat, Larry, and maybe so. Bobby Childs thinks that we should be checking in on David Payton. I'm wondering if even having a webcam on him so we could see his mouth move would be enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the other side here. That every time I put a camera on somebody, something bad happens. So maybe it's not a good night to be on camera for Peyton. He seems to be doing just fine without us.
Don't want to jinx it. Actually, I don't know if having the camera. I don't know if following his in-car right now is the best idea here either.
He's just following Ian Patience. They are different classes, Patience in the AM, Peyton, of course, in the Pro. But they would both like to catch up about 4 seconds up the road to Jeff Jacobs. And now look at this. As Patience is a little bit of a bobble there around the old hairpin. Maybe an opportunity, not quite there for Peyton. It's just to duck right back in behind him.
Yeah, as Peyton took a look to the drivers right there coming in through turn 5 in the Starkeys, as they now move, and you can see coming right up on the rear. And I think you're starting to run into an issue here, Larry, where I think the 4 cars directly behind are maybe capable of a little bit more pace.
It looks
right
like a Miata race, and that is exactly. Look at this. They're bumping. They're actually pushing each other along. I swear I just saw the 2 Canadians, Peyton and Labano, actually pushing. Peyton now, of course, gets cleaner through the chicane, but Labano looked like he was up underneath the back of him. Now, of course, the 87 of Sterling looks like he's going to make a push through as Eric Violet, race leader, is the first one into the pits.
That's right, and we said, Larry, that the window for the LMP3 cars would open up right around lap 19. Well, here he is at the end of lap 19, starting lap 20. Eric Violet, your leader, comes into the pits. That is going to give the lead over to Travis Schwenke, and we can see here Schwenke, there he is in the number 16 machine, trying to work his way through this group of 5 or 6 cars that we've been following.
Yeah, well done to get around the first pack as they go around the Starkey's Bridge corners, and he's going to get around 2 of the next 3 here as he goes up through Coppice and then down, of course, Starkey straight. But yeah, that's good job there, picking his way through the traffic as best as you could expect from Travis Schwenke.
All right, Larry, let's take a look here because we've got a big change right now with a new 2nd place runner in GT4 Pro as Mariano Barrios gets around Justin Ream. The 2 McLaren drivers been going at it since the start of this race, and Mark one in the positive for the 54
Let's take a look at how that happened. I think we got a replay queued up.
Yep, let's take a look.
All right, so it's on the front straight. Look at this. Barrios getting a good line right down the middle of the track. Does he just outbrake him as they've got Marlon Jones out in front of him a little bit early on the brakes? May have caught Ream a little bit off guard there. Allowed Barrios to get the better line, and then nose in front, down the hill he goes.
There you go.
So
yeah, and it looked like Ream left the door open there, and then perhaps gave a little bit more deference to Barrios than he needed to. Barrios was pretty far back, but as we now work the very next lap, let's see if Justin Ream looks to return the favor. No, he's going to hold. He's going to hold pat where he is.
He's realizing that Copeland now is just about 8/10. You can see him right there in front of him. Yeah. And I think Ream's saying it's a good opportunity. Remember, we come into this knowing that Ream is your points leader, just about 12 points ahead of Ken Copeland. Everybody's forgetting about Mariano Barrios. He's back there in 6th, but only because he didn't start until week 3, and he won in round 4. He's got nothing but podiums in the 3 rounds he's run. He's exactly where we expect him to be, fighting for the lead. And really starting to mix it up. But Copeland needs a win desperately if he's going to catch Ream, and the wild card might be Barrios.
That's right, and I think it probably behooves those 2 McLaren drivers just to hold station for time being because, well, I mean, there's a lot of clear track ahead of these 3 racers, Larry, but at some point they are going to hit traffic, and it's going to be the prime opportunity. If
Ream can do a little fuel save behind Barrios, that could help his fuel stop and perhaps even try either Fernando or overcut there when the time comes. As for a minute there, I thought perhaps Copeland was going to go into the pits, but he's just trying to break the draft and get back to track left. But yeah, I do wonder if you're Ream, if you can maybe use this opportunity. But Barrios is just playing fast.
Yeah, and he was fast at Coda, and he was fast the round before at Road America as well, where he took that first win of his. And Larry, we're getting pretty close to the opening of our pit window for our GT4 cars. We anticipated that it would probably open up right around lap 22. Our racers are currently working lap 21. somebody who's had a pretty easy race of it, other than having to.
Oh, the commentators jinx. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, watch these LMP3 drivers come by. There's Leo Dragoda from Dragon Sport in his Aston Martin, and he has now what, Larry, about 25 seconds on
He's had a really good run here, and I know we're probably jinxing him. I saw the worst case of commentators jinx at a football game over the weekend. You know, just as you say, this team hasn't been penalized. The next play, they get penalized. In this case, we try not to say nice things because, you know,
that's right.
then maybe they'll have not nice things happen. But for Leo, he's had a pretty good start to this race. Currently 4th overall in GT4. That's a solid run for your AM class leader.
Yeah, with almost a 25-second advantage right now over Ian Patience, as Patience is sitting 4 cars back behind, but he's got 4 probe machines directly ahead. And here we go. Speaking of Ian Patience, as he still has that train of Peyton, Labano, Lucas Dragoda, as well as John Sterling there as well. And you know, you can't blame Patience, as Jeff Jacobs has some issues, I think, coming through the final corner there, coming through that chicane. Oh, he heads to the pit, so no problems for Jacobs. He just comes down for fuel very early on in the pit window here. But I was going to say, you know, Patience, when we saw Labano try to get by him a couple laps ago, and he was a little defensive, didn't try to defend that hard, you know, but he's got, you know, 2 other AM drivers directly behind David Payton that, you know, Patience wants to certainly hold off at this point.
Well, traffic's going to get a little heavy right now. As of course, you've got, I think that's the 25 of Marlon Jones trying to get through there. And then, of course, you got Mike Dam there in the 93 also trying to get through this pack. He's got Lucas Dragoda, middle of track. He's got Chuck Labano, left of track. Those 2 guys, I think, are actually fighting for 3rd with each other. Look, it's 3 wide to the chicane.
To see Ian Patience. Oh! All right, heading in, John Casey. We saw Ian Patience flashing his lights all the way down the straight at John Casey. Say, get out of the way, and Casey he took the car into the pits. That was definitely taking the easy way out.
Prime opportunity to just say, you know what, this is a great time to pit. As Lucas Dragoda now leads this little threesome down the hill in through turns 2 and 3, as John Sterling is just in front of Labano.
All right, Ken Copeland now in the Mercedes, pits in from the lead in GT4 Pro. That's going to move Justin Ream up to the lead, who's gotten back around Mariano Barrios. So it was another change in position there as we were following some other action.
Yeah, Brandon Whitworth also from D2D Sim Racing has got his LMP3 in for a stop. Do notice Copeland's car was up in the jacks, implying he might be taking some tires on it. So let's keep your eye on that race leader's pace when he comes out of the pits. And of course, then Whitworth coming out right behind Russ Ruddock. And this pit exit is immediately at the braking point into turn 1. So you can really watch the traffic coming down.
Hey, look who they're coming up on right there.
Yep, there it is. Ian Patience.
Ian Patience, exactly. He's in every shot, Larry.
He is right in the middle of all the fights here tonight, as he's running 2nd in his class. But, man, he's getting pushed from Dragoda now. Lucas behind him. Leo has almost checked out 30 seconds out in front of him. But Lucas is certainly going to give him a run here tonight.
And so, you know, as we saw Ken Copeland look like maybe taking some tires, one, maybe more, as Mariano Barrios now comes down the pit lane.
Right.
And here's where we're going to see whether or not that plan by Copeland came to fruition. Is that, you know, I would assume that the left front tire here, Larry, and probably the left rear tire as well, getting a pretty big workout here on this clockwise track, as there are only, I think, 1, 2, essentially 3 left-hand turns on the entire track out of 12.
Yeah, it's a little like Lime Rock in that sense, whereas a whole lot of right turns, and basically there's the left-hander, kind of, as we know Lime Rock actually has one called that. It's a lot like that, and everything's kind of high speed.
Is pretty much it.
Yeah, and exactly, that's just it. So there's one right turn around here. This left-hander here at the Starkey's Bridge is pretty much it. And which makes it very tough, like you say, on those left side tires. Might be why some of these drivers are opting for the free left front there. So we'll keep our eyes on him, as Ream is the only one we're waiting on to do his pits as the battle wages on here with Lobano and Sterling.
That's right. So now as we're starting to see these pit cycles go on, it is Chuck Lobano and John Sterling. And this is currently the battle for 4th in AM. And let's add Tom Jenkins into this as well in the midfield motorsports. Aston Martin, he's in this group as well. And
I think right behind them is Ken Copeland, the prior race leader after his pit stop. He's looking at these three guys saying, come on, you guys have got to go pit. I don't want to work my way through you guys. Should I get there? He wants them to pit now.
Well, we'll see if any of them do. And it looks like they're all going to stay out for at least one more lap, Larry.
All right, well, he's got about 1.5 seconds, and that's probably about the delta to his pace to theirs, especially if he's on fresher tires. So we'll keep our eyes on him as these three continue to battle on in front of him. Lobano now out to the front in front of Sterling and Jenkins. Jenkins continuing to follow this battle in front of him.
All right, let's jump up a little bit higher from 4th in AM to 2nd in AM. And that is Ian Patience, who's worked his way clear of a lot of that group. He has Lucas Dragota behind him. And actually now splitting the difference is Mariano Barrios. And should be noted, Larry, that Barrios, who I don't think took tires, is now sitting, he's got, I think, 5 cars between he and
yeah, it's a good 5 seconds. It's a good 5 seconds, and that's the critical piece here. And with Copeland having to get around some traffic, this could be interesting as Russ Ruddock finally lets that group run by. There's Copeland trying to get underneath Justin, trying to get underneath Jenkins. He does. That's a tough place to do it.
That was
and he's going to get by Lobano, and he's got one more, and those two go to the pits. It looks a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
The production truck went wild. But yes, the 2 pits now there for Lobano and Jenkins.
Yeah, that's right. So they pit in from 4th and 5th in AM. All right, so here is, we're watching Barrios now right on the back of Ian Patience. Ken Copeland trying to work his way back up to this group. He's got to find his way around Sterling and Dragota.
Yeah, Strikers in the LMP3 just getting his by to get in through there. He's up into 2nd in this race with the pit stops all happening. The last thing he wants to do is get caught up in some GT4 madness. As now the 54 of Barrios gets around Patience. He's going to try and continue to truck on. He's now got
he
about
did something
3 seconds.
that David Payton had been unable to do, Larry, for almost the entire race. He dispatched Ian Patience in 3/4 of a lap.
Well, Lucas Dragota now is going to try and do the same, but see who can outbrake who going into the chicane. Patience underneath. Dragota slips in behind, trying to get a run down into 1. He just might, as then the pit stop goes in for Ian Patience.
So that's going to make things
Sterling
a little bit
too.
Easier for Ken Copeland now.
Yep,
as,
Sterling also.
we now have Sterling into the pits as well.
Yep. All right, so the battle we're looking for is going to be Mariano Barrios and Ken Copeland. Now, still about that 4.5 seconds between them. The advantage going, of course, to Barrios right now. Ream is yet to stop, and he's the other one we're waiting on. As there's a good shot of Ken Copeland and his Mercedes.
And we're getting pretty close to what we thought would be the end of the pit cycle, Larry, for the GT4 cars. Ream currently working his 29th lap. We thought perhaps the window would run up to lap 30. So we'll see if Ream was able to conserve some fuel in that battle that he had with Barrios.
Well, we'll see. He's certainly stretching it as far as he can, so we'll keep our eyes on him there. Of course, that is Travis Schwenke, who has had the lead of the race since the early race leader, Eric Violette, decided to come in to stop. And right now the gap between those two is 32 seconds. I haven't been keeping an eye too much, but I would not be surprised if it's a little less than that's our pit delta. So we're going to really keep our eye then on Schwenke when he comes in to stop.
That's right. So our only 2 LMP3 drivers to pit so far are our 2 D2D sim racing drivers, Eric Violette and Brandon Whitworth. And we saw I think the pit window for LMP3, Larry, pardon me, would go up to lap 42. So a pretty big window for them, and almost about another 9 laps that they should be able to do under with their initial load of fuel, assuming they went out with a full tank.
Well, there's a good shot of Eric Violet, now 33.8 seconds behind Schwenke, and that's already grown by almost 2 seconds in the last 2 laps or so. So here's a couple more pit stops. That looks like Kevin Ford right behind him, Brandon Horan, the BMW and the Mercedes.
And it looks like Ford not taking tires. Brennan Horn is.
Possibly, yeah. Keep your eye on that. Horn is down, waiting for the fuel load to top off. These two currently 3rd and 4th in that pro class. Of course, Copeland goes by, bumps from the 4th and 5th. This is one of the wrong stuff LMP3s. That's got to be Baron Glover, I would assume. This is Michael Brooks. I don't think is still in the race. And then Lucas Tragoda down the hill, trying to let Marlon Jones go around through the old hairpin. Right in front of, there it is, Ken Copeland, who would love to get around Tragoda, and he's going to go the long way. Woof, or the wrong way.
He's not the wrong. That was the wrong stuff, Larry. But
the eSport Racer entry, not the wrong stuff entry, taking the wrong line around the grassy edge there. But he managed to save it, gets it back on. For a moment there, he thought maybe he had a line to get around Tragoda there in front of him. He's got a lot of work to do to catch back up to Lucas. Lucas, by the way, and brother or teammate Leo are running 1, 2, and AM at the time.
All right, Larry. Let's take a look back here. As we're going to sit on board with Ken Copeland as he's coming up on this mess.
Yep, gets a run. He goes to the right of Lucas Tragoda there in the 119 and just turns it a little bit late. Maybe that LMP3 car caught him a bit off guard there.
I think that's exactly what happened. He had to wait a little bit he had to wait a little bit longer than he wanted for that LMP3 car to get by.
It's a nice save, and he's able to get it underneath. So Travis Schwenke, race leader, into the pits. And we've got shared pits going on between the Dragon Sport entry of, I think it's Lucas Tragoda, and Travis Schwenke, a race leader at the time he stopped.
Oof.
And a much shorter stop, of course.
Show V at one point. And there we go.
The Alien miniseries, Alien
That's
Invasion.
right.
I remember that.
That's right.
I'm old enough.
Forget Wallace and Gromit. Let's talk V.
All right, so Strikers resumes the lead, but more importantly, Travis Schwenke comes out 3.5 seconds in front of Eric Violet. The net leader of the race becomes Travis Schwenke. We'll have to see how Kyle Striker's pit stop goes, but Strikers has yet to stop, and he's only 2 seconds in front of Schwenke, so we expect Schwenke to take that lead back. Now he's got to stay clean as he ducks underneath Jeff Jacobs.
And Schwenke just ran off, Larry, off a little bit wide there. He's going to lose a little bit of ground, I think, to Violet, but it should be noted that the pit lane time just about 2 seconds shorter for Travis Schwenke than it was for Eric Violet. He spent just about 2 seconds less in the pit stall than the D2D sim racer, Eric Violet.
So we'll keep our eyes on that, as the delta between them right now is about that 2.5 seconds. While Justin Ream has made his way into the pits, this Geodesic Racing McLaren. Where does he come out relative to Mariano Barrios and Ken Copeland? We know Barrios is 4.5, 4.7 ahead of Copeland. Ream still stopped as the Jenkins car, Midfield Motorsports, gets rolling.
And Barrios is coming into the final corner now, I believe, Larry. Actually,
Ream is on his way out. Ream might have this, as he's going to be right at turn in for turn 1. He's going to have to slip in behind the Porsche of Neil Weston, but around the back of that corner, we'll find a Mariano Barrios. And Justin Ream, wonderful work there to have a nice, short, quick pit stop and take this lead back from Mariano Barrios.
There you go, and you can see now Ream was in the pit stall 2 seconds less than Barrios was, and the difference on track, Larry, what is it? It is almost 10 seconds separating those two drivers at this point.
I think Ream did a wonderful job of navigating traffic once the other guys in front of him, Copeland and Barrios, had done their pit stops. Ream very quick, and I think that might be the difference. It's not necessarily sheer pace on a lap-by-lap type of measure, as that was qualifying, but here in race trim, he's able to navigate traffic faster than anybody. And watching now traffic, that Schwenke and Strikers for the lead, even though Strikers hasn't stopped yet, this is for the lead.
Yeah, and the longer Schwenke fights him, Eric Violette, who's only about 2 seconds in arrears. There he is.
Yep.
He's going to close things down. Schwenke might see that advantage that he built up there with the overcut to disappear.
Yeah, well, Strikers doesn't need to yield. He is the race leader. There's no need. There's no blue flags, nothing like that. But he should be coming into the pits, not this lap. Striker's going to stay out one more time. And as you said, Eric Violette just 2.2 back now from Travis Schwenke.
And Violet just ran his fastest lap of the race, and Larry was almost 2 seconds faster that last circuit of Donington than was Travis Schwenke or Kyle Strikers.
And if Schwenke can't dispatch his Strikers quickly, he's definitely going to have a Violet-covered D2D Sim Racing entry. As that, you gotta love seeing that one. I think it was John Casey in his Mercedes.
John Casey, the 78, yeah.
Came back on, and look at this. Look at the traffic holding up the two LMP3s. This is playing right into the hands of Eric Violette. He's getting all the good runs off these corners. He's going to duck underneath Brockway.
And there you go. That advantage they had now, Larry, is gone. He is right on the back of Travis Schwenke, flashing those headlights to and
all right,
they're going to come into the chicane now.
And Striker stays out, so it's still a 3-car fight. Striker's yet to stop 40 minutes into this thing.
And they come up on Ken Copeland going into turn 1. Copeland's going to have to give way there and open up the gap for both Travis Schwenke and Eric Violette. Violette loses a little bit in the transaction. But you can bet, Larry, the next time they come up on some traffic there in the mid-pack, it's going to compress those top 3 down again.
It's going to make desperate moves out of these types of passes right now. Schwenke, here he is coming up on Barrios. He's going to have to get by quickly, and if any luck to him, it'll put Violet in the wrong place. Eric's going to say, nope, I'm going to get through it too, and he does as he goes around Coppice and now down the straights heading toward the chicane. They're still nearly nose to tail. There's a draft effect here, and it's going to be minimal, but there is one. Eric's going to be feeling that all the way up to the chicane, and we have a 19-minute battle for the win happening here in LMP3.
All right, well, Larry, I hate to do this, but you know, there are folks that pay our bills every once in a while. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and let's hope hope upon hope that Travis Schwenke and Eric Violette are still battling it out for maybe the lead by the time we come back here at Donington Park, where you are watching round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Performa Elite. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to Donington Park, where you are watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Proforma Elite. I'm Brett Ginsburg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, while we were at break, we did have Kyle Strikers bring his Ligier down the pit lane. That moved Travis Schwenke back to the lead, and you can see there Eric Violet, he is continuing his attack. He is about a second back from our LMP3 leader, as we have now less than 15 minutes remaining in tonight's 60-minute race.
And it's going to go a big old barn burner right down to the end, I think. Between these two, it's going to be back and forth right now. Obviously, Schwenke's got an advantage, but all it takes is one bad catch. Right now, he's going to go around Jeff Jacobs. But for Schwenke, there you can see in the graphic, you know, one lap they're the same. One lap it's a half a second one way, another lap it's a second the other way. It's just the way this is going to go for the next 15 minutes. And the other question is going to be, and I think Bobby mentioned this in the chat, is we know that Eric Violet cuts his fuel loads pretty down to the minimal, but Travis Schwenke, does he have enough fuel on board? Do either of these guys, do they both have enough fuel to make it to the end? We'll see.
Well, we will see. Here as Violet once again closing up. Should mention GT4 Pro. Justin Ream now with almost an 11-second advantage over Mariano Barrios. Where did that come from? And Ken Copeland, who had been closing things down on Barrios, now only about a second and a half back from the number 54 McLaren. And there he is. There is Ken Copeland, and maybe getting balked a little bit. But speaking about getting balked, Travis Schwenke has to run wide on the outside of Kevin Ford. And
so does Violet.
Violet on the other side there. So both drivers experiencing issues making their way through traffic, and oddly enough, the gap stays just about the same. A little bit less than a second separating these two drivers.
Baron Glover in the wrong stuff entry right in front of them. At least he'll be similar pace to these two, and they won't quite catch him out of surprise here, the full element of surprise, so to speak. But look at this battle. It's just going to keep going. It's so much curb as they go through that chicane onto the front straight.
There he goes. Baron Glover might be in the wrong stuff car in the wrong place at the wrong time. As
it's John Casey's going to try and get out of the way as best he can.
Past John Casey there, and good place for Casey to just hang the car on the outside there through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yes, again, Baron Glover doesn't need to move over that quickly. He can be somewhat strategic, but now would be a good time to just tap the brakes and let these two roar on by, and he does, as those two head up through McLean's here at turn 7, and then to catch 62 of
it's Brockway.
Brockway, yeah. All right, so who's got tire under him? Who's got enough fuel on board? And who can make their way through traffic cleanly for the next 13 minutes or so? It's going to be a tight finish. Clean for a moment. I don't see any traffic in front of him. A little bit of dust kicked up there for Schwenke as they go under braking into 1. Just at that pit out mark. And then, of course,
John, can we jump over to the battle between Patience and Labano right now? Because I believe, because I was going to say, I thought it was a little bit closer than this.
The battle for 3rd and AM.
Yep, and there they are. This is for the last up on the podium in AM, Ian Patience in the number 21 McLaren, and then Chuck Labano in the number 34 Mercedes as they're coming down into the final corner now.
I tell you what, they're also trying to break up a 1-2 Jagoda AM finish, which right now is playing itself out. Lucas in second, Leo in the lead in GT4 AM, and right now Ian Patience and Chuck Labano, the only thing separating those other two from being on the top 2 step of the podium as teams. That's pretty cool.
As Lucas in the 119 car, he's about 60 car lengths up ahead of these two. Last time through, running fairly similar pace is Dragota to Patience and Labano, so they're not making much headway on him.
Nope, and that's a good thing for Lucas if he can just pick his spots and just hit his marks. Perhaps he can join Leo as a 1-2 on the podium, but
so
we'll see.
Larry, here's something interesting in LMP3. Brandon Whitworth, and I thought maybe he might have cut things close on fuel as he was one of our early takers, but looks like he might have cut things close with a tire wall.
Yeah, there appears to not need to worry about fuel as there's nothing attached to the car as he goes down into the chicane, locks it up, a little bear and glubbered, and loses the whole front clip of the car and just says maybe it's time to park it. Yeah,
so it looks like Whitworth's night is now done. He'll finish in 7th
we'll
this
see
evening.
what kind of damage that Glover may have. It just looked kind of incidental, incident there. That just a racing incident. Obviously, Glover had nowhere to go, but let's see if he's got any damage from that contact. It looks okay from here.
Yeah, didn't even scratch the paint, Larry.
And it doesn't look like stewards looked at it and they agree. No incident, no action necessary. As we flash back to the lead, Travis Schwenke still 2.5 on Eric Violette with now inside of 10 minutes to go. Corners like this, though, don't help him.
No, and you saw that move that Labano, and Labano gets
Oh,
very
boy.
loose.
As Violet goes through the grass to get around Labano. Labano, I think, just apologized on the chat. Probably didn't realize which way Eric was going to go. Eric now around Ian Patience in a tough spot.
Yeah, and interesting there, Larry. I think Labano, he when we saw Schwenke come through, I think he was actually trying to hold maybe Schwenke off just a little bit so that he didn't lose a lot of ground to Ian Patience just ahead. But then, as you mentioned, I don't think he knew that that Violet was that close behind.
I don't think he did, but Violet needs to keep his pace up. This is not going to be easy. The best thing he can do is put pressure on Schwenke and put pressure so much where Schwenke makes a mistake. Schwenke doing a great job, though, just keeping that gap and slipping by these two at a time. Violet now up around the inside of that's Lucas, just ahead of your race leader at GT4, Justin Ream. Yeah, Ream there in the 188, just going around Jagoda there in the 119.
Yep, and Lucas just keeping the car pinned to the driver's right to let all those racers by. And the gap now from Schwenke back to Violet, just about 2.5 seconds, as we now have only 8 minutes, actually a little bit less than 8 minutes remaining in this 60-minute race from Donington Park. A little bit further back, here comes Mike Dam on Strikers.
And Strikers runs wide at Coppice, and I think he's going to recover, but not before Mike Dam takes over 3rd place. And considering how the first 10 minutes of this race went, did we ever think that we'd see Mike Dam sitting at a provisional podium spot?
Something about not counting all your chickens before they're hatched, Larry.
Yeah, something like that. Do not count this man out
No,
when it
certainly
comes to
not.
sheer
And
pace.
now Chuck Labano catches back up to Ian Patience.
It's the battle for 3rd in the AM category. Labano getting a good
remember,
run
we
here.
saw him hold off David Payton for almost 20 laps early on in this race. He's done a very good job of defending.
I'll tell you what, Neil Weston behind them. These guys better watch. He's in that only Porsche in the field. He's only 7/10 back, and he's in 5th, and he would love a shot at a podium here. We haven't talked about him much, except maybe when some GT3 or GT4s would get passed by some LMP3s, but there he is.
Yeah, he's got a chance here for a podium, Larry, with just a little bit over 5 minutes left. And, as we were watching Labano there pulling up right behind Patience, I think this may be what gave Payton so many issues earlier. Is I think we're seeing Patience getting into the binders maybe a little bit earlier than Labano expects. And we saw where Labano almost ended up right in the back bumper of the McLaren on multiple issues. No such issue on that McLaren. That is Mariano Barrios that we just saw.
But you notice who's behind him? That is Ken Copeland. That is your battle for 2nd overall in GT4. Copeland has taken that 4 or 5 second advantage that Barrios had after the pit stops, and there you can see the graphic. It's been a quick chunk by chunk here the last number of laps that has brought Copeland right up to the backside of Barrios. With now 6 minutes to go, the fight is on in the last 2 steps of the podium.
And they're going to be closing down right on the back of that AM battle. That is definitely going to complicate things for Barrios, as I'm sure he's going to want to try and find a way through these 3 drivers ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Weston might be the quickest of them right now. He's turned the quickest lap as a single lap tonight of these 3. He's got the fastest one, and he's got great pace here in the second half of this race. Weston, maybe that Porsche is really good on its tires. Look at this. He's got a good run off the opening corner, and he's going to try and go 2 wide, down through 2, and out round to Crater Curves here at 3.
Just doesn't have the engine for it, Larry, but looked like he had the grip.
Behind him, he's got Mike Dam, who we've seen Mike in this situation before. Mike's going to say, hey, guys, coming through, and he does. There you go. Look at this.
It doesn't impact that battle much at all.
Are they going to go 2 wide, maybe 3 wide around McLean's? Nope. Single file.
Weston is definitely making things difficult for Chuck Labano, though, Larry.
Yeah.
Labano is having, I think, to give up a little bit of that fight on patience just to see what the Porsche is going to be doing from
behind. And right behind them is Barrios and Copeland. So you got a battle for second, or battle for third at GT4 AM going on with a battle for second at GT4 Pro. And, oh yeah, by the way, Kyle Strikers wants to get on through to say, you guys have your battle. And there goes Jones. It is Marlon Jones spinning.
And Marlon's going to back into the pits.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah, just about. All right, so Jones is back underway. Let's get back up to that fight. And there it is, as Patience still ahead, but now it looks like Copeland and Barrios are starting to make their way through. Barrios is up to the second in this train. Copeland's in fourth in this train. This is the kind of shakeup that I think someone like Weston would love to have if he could follow one of these guys through. Maybe he can follow Copeland through and catch Labano sleeping. Labano runs wide. This could be help there for Weston. As the 2 McLarens go side by side. Weston, Labano blocking him back there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Labano wants him to get through. And this is the second time that we've seen Barrios dispatch Ian Patience with very little issue. Copeland now, it is his turn.
Well, obviously, a track like this, there's 1 or 2 corners that defines a fast driver from a slow driver, and it's all it takes. And those 2 moments tend to shine. I think whether it's Coppice and the other is the old hairpin. I think those 2 really separate traffic. As again, they go through here with a little bit off pace this time.
Oh, look at this, Larry, as Labano gets by Ian Patience coming out of the final corner. So move Labano now up into third, and Patience and Weston side by side going into 1.
As we've got 3 minutes to go on the clock, and again, it's going to be with only a minute a lap for these LMP3s. It's going to be a quick to the finish. Everybody knows that there aren't many laps now. Patience lost that spot, looked like at the chicane. Labano gets on through. Weston not able to capitalize. So now Labano stands on the temporary, the very, very unsturdy third step of the podium in GT4M. There's nothing stable about that position tonight.
And now it's Ian Patience's time to attack. And we've seen him in another Ricmotech series, Larry, to be a little bit on the aggressive side.
Oh, no, and he's going to go off. As he gets tangled a little bit there with Weston, and look at that recovery. He lucked out.
That's a heck of a save.
Woo. A little bit of luck, a little bit of skill gets Ian Patience back on the track, so he's going to now fall to 5th behind Weston. We might have to see what that looked like from a different angle.
Let's take a look here, Larry.
All right, so they come up here through McLean's as they go between McLean's and Coppice, turn 7 and 8. And the inside's Weston. And he goes outside, and I don't think he had enough of an overlap on the outside. As you can see there for Patience, he started to move back track left, and there was a car in his way.
Yeah, and you know, Larry, I'm not gonna Monday morning quarterback or even Sunday after or even Monday night quarterback. Patience did not get a good run out of that corner. He missed the apex by a pretty wide margin. And I think if Weston had just kept his original path and not tried to go around the outside, I think he might have been able to make the move and get it done.
Maybe, yeah, staying on the inside might have been the better line, but I think he's thinking up and under, maybe trying to push him into a bad line coming around Coppice. But unfortunately, the stewards are going to look at it. But what it means for sure for Patience is it's not going to help his race. We'll see if any sort of penalties are doled out for Weston's role in that. For Labano, he doesn't want to have any doubt in this. He would love to just take this third spot all on merit and not worry about penalties. So we'll see what the stewards have to say here in the next minute, as we are under a minute on the clock, waiting for race leader.
I think, Larry, that
oh no,
Labano just
Labano!
crossed the line. Oh,
Labano goes around. I didn't see any contact. That looked like he just spun coming out of the chicane.
I think he just got a lot of curbing and put the car around, Larry. That car looked very unsettled over that curbing many times through this race. But white flag is in the air. It is the last lap here from Donington. And Travis Schwenke, he's built up now almost a 7-second advantage over Eric Violet. And I think possibly, Larry, that your thoughts about Violet and whether or not he might have had to conserve fuel at the end are coming true.
Yeah, he may just be saving fuel right up to the end of this thing. And we'll see if he does make his way around, as he's just probably used some of this Lucas Dragotta draft.
Yeah,
but Travis Schwenke, solid.
And Violet lost almost a second and a half on the last lap, and now checkered flag is in the air. It didn't take long to do that final lap, and taking the win here at Donington Park, Travis Schwenke from Orion Racing. He is your winner. Taking the win in GT4 Pro, Justin Ream from Geodesic Racing. He crosses the line, and one of the Dragottas now is taking the checkered flag, but not the one who's going to win GT4 AM. Leo Dragotta coming out of the final corner now to the checkered flag. Leo Dragotta takes another win here this season in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. So it's Schwenke and Violet now, crossing the line. That will round out your podium in LMP3. In GT4 Pro, it's Ream, then Barrios, and then our early leader, Ken Copeland. He's going to take the bronze. And then finally in GT4 AM, it is Dragotta's on 2 steps to the podium. It's Leo with the win. It's Lucas finishing second, and then Neil Weston in his Porsche Cayman, the Club Sport, GT4 Club Sport, comes home in third.
Crazy race all the way top to bottom. Schwenke getting the win. Awesome job there. We do think Violet may have been a little short on fuel. For Ream, dominant once the traffic cleared out for him. And how about the sweep of the Dragottas? I can't wait to hear it from Dragon Sport.
We ought to bring them in together. I want to hear them talk about teammates together. All right, Larry, let's do this before we interview out some of our podium finishers. Let's take a break and thank some of our sponsors that have brought you coverage here tonight from Donington Park, where you've just seen round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, presented by Performa Elite. We'll be right back.
Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back, everybody, to Donington Park, where you've just seen round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, presented by Proforma Elite. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And let's, John, if we can, let's throw up that finishing order once again. And taking the win in LMP3, Travis Schwenke from Orion Racing, with D2D Sim Racing's Eric Violette finishing in second. Mike Dam from Orion finishing in third. In GT4 AM, Leonardo Dragota from Rennsport Racing, and look at that, the entire rest of that AM field one lap down from him. His teammate Lucas Dragota finishing in second, Neil Weston finishing in third. And then in GT4 Pro, Justin Ream from Geodesic takes the win over Walking Pace Racing's Mario Barrios, with Ken Copeland rounding out your podium. All right, let's take a look, Larry, and I think we got some shy drivers here. Haven't made their way to the green room yet, but one man stepping up to the plate from Walking Pace Racing, driver of the number 54 McLaren, finishing second tonight in GT4 Pro. It's Mariano Barrios.
All right, Mariano, you've come into this league kind of mid-season, but you're starting to leave your mark now with a whole string of podiums, and you had a heck of a battle tonight, both with Justin and with Ken. Tell me a little bit about this crazy night and the battles that you had.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a little disappointed. I feel like I could have fought for the win, but I got a slow down on my in lap, and then just a bad strategy call, and I pit for fuel, and I was stuck in traffic. That slowed me down a lot. So I feel like I had the pace to bring it to Justin today, but I'm happy with P2.
Yeah, because after the pit stops there, you had a bit of an advantage, I think, on Copeland. And I guess with traffic and things, he catches you guys up to the end. We're still sort of nose to tail as you caught that GT4 AM battle. At that point, I mean, how are you picking your way through 3 other cars that are all in their own battle?
Yeah, when I saw that, I knew Ken was right behind me, so it was an all or nothing situation. So I just put my car there and hope for the best. The LMP3s made it through, and I just made sure to give enough space on my left side and make sure we all got through there safely.
Yeah, well, awesome job right up to the end. A crazy hour-long race here. It felt like a 5-lap sprint that just went on for about 60 laps. So crazy race. But for you end up on the podium once again, and great job there. Anybody you want to give a special thanks to for your second place finish here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank my wife for always supporting, watching there with our cat in the living room. You guys for putting on a great broadcast, and XMS for putting on a great series.
All right, well, congrats again, Mariano, for a great second place finish here tonight at Donington.
Have a great night.
All right, thanks so much to Mariano and Larry. Meow. All right, so or Mariano's cat, meow. All right, let's move over to GT4 AM, where Leo Dragota took his 4th win of the season here this evening at Donington Park. Let's talk to the Rennsport racer.
All right, Leo Dragota joining us. Leo, you might be on mute, but awesome job tonight. You just sort of checked out from the AM field here and just walked away with it. But really, there's something else we got to talk about. Did you and Lucas just high-five when you guys all got done with that race as a 1-2 finish for Rennsport?
We didn't high-five, but we give online high-fives, if you know if that makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was really fun. Thank you for Lucas for doing this with me, but that was a great finish.
Yeah, a great result for you. You just kind of set yourself up to a really good pace, and I hate to say it, we didn't put you on camera much tonight because you didn't have any real fight going on. You seem to be running your own race and doing your own thing with traffic. Is this that kind of place is tough? Do you want to almost be driving by yourself rather than being stuck in a battle? Because it just seemed to be chaotic every time if someone was in a battle and then those LMP3s came along.
Yeah, I don't think there was any point to push, so I kind of just kept a consistent pace. And it got a little sketchy when the P3s were coming along, so that dropped the pace, but I just kept the tires cool and ran the fuel out, and I did some fuel saving, and just finishing was the best off. And I got 0x, so just collecting all the points.
That's actually real. That's probably big congratulations to anything. It's a really tough track to do it, especially down there in that turn 3, turn 4 section. But awesome job for you taking the win once again here for Rennsport Racing. But I'm sure you got some folks you want to thank for helping you get there.
Yeah, Lucas for doing this. It's great to finish 1-2. You guys for putting on a stream. Everybody at the league. Ken Copeland, we did a lot of practice together, and that's how I was so good at this track. And my mom and dad for supporting me, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, well, congrats tonight to the whole team with a 1-2 finish in the AM category. Well deserved. You guys can go celebrate.
Yep, thank you.
All right, there you go. Leo Dragota taking his 4th win of the season here tonight at Donington, and a great run for him. So let's now, Larry, move over to LMP3, where we've got Travis Schwenke picking up his 2nd win of the season here tonight for Orion Racing. Let's hear from him.
All right, Travis. This was a absolute barn burner of a race, top to bottom. You take the lead through the pit exchange. Maybe your fuel was a better fuel load you took on than your rival there, but traffic management seemed to be crucial tonight. Tell me a little bit about it from your side. How difficult was it to just keep this thing on the track?
Yeah, it was pretty huge. This car is really hard to, I would say, panic brake in. You know, if you have too much pressure on trail with turn at all, it wants to loop. So you just have to be really careful. So anytime I saw something burnt coming up, I would just, give up entry as much as I could and then concentrate on getting a good exit. So I knew I wasn't going to happen, in the middle or on entry. So I just had to let it happen there. So it was definitely hard. I unfortunately had that slowdown early, huge slowdown. I don't know if Leo knew I was going inside there, and I just had to go to the grass to not hit him. And I think that lost 3 seconds. Thankfully, I made it all back up. But then, it's like, where do you pass here? It was going to be really hard. So Eric chose to pit. I didn't. I went, oh, I know why you pit. There's a group of cars here. So I didn't see that, unfortunately, and it held me up. But I think traffic paid me back because he got held up during his laps as well. So I just kind of watching that relative and watching where my pit dot was, where I was going to come out. So I knew when I went in that I should be clear when I came out.
Yeah, it just seemed to be absolutely chaotic at times, trying to get to some of the traffic. And as the race wound on, suddenly you and Eric were nose to tail, trying to get your way through all that traffic. But you at least had the advantage. You were already in front at that point. And it turns out maybe even had a good fuel advantage because your pit stop may have been enough on board. But it just seemed to be just absolute chaos down there and just nail biting all the way to the end.
Yeah, definitely fun, and the traffic giveth and taketh, and you just had to live with that at times. I built up a little lead when I had some clear laps, and then it's gone. In 1 second, you just had to accept that was going to happen, and just try to make sure you put the car in the right place to not let him get a run.
Yeah, amazing race tonight. A very tough one to get the win, and well-deserved for you and the Orion race team. In fact, a 1-3, I believe, for Orion, as Mike was able to claw his way back up into a podium as well. So awesome job there, but I'm sure you got some folks you want to mention and give a little bit of a thanks to tonight.
Yeah, thanks to Huffy. Thanks to Extreme for putting this on. Ricmotech for their continued support of this series. This is always good fun, and love hearing you guys announce. I'll definitely watch this one back.
Yep, it'll be an entertaining one to watch for sure. So Travis Schwenke, congrats here on getting the win tonight.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, everybody. Travis Schwenke, our overall winner tonight in his Orion Racing LMP3 Ligier. And Larry, while you were talking to Travis, I got word from Justin Ream. He drives one of those British cars, and electrics aren't exactly the high point of the McLarens. Apparently, his microphone broke and was not able to join us. The McLaren folks are having one shipped. I was to say they're having one shipped over from the UK, but the car's already in the virtual UK, so maybe it won't take all that long for him. Anyway, congratulations to Justin on his fourth win of the season. All right, so let's wrap
one
things
more
up.
quick note is
Yes.
There was a late penalty assessed to Neil Weston for the contact that he had there at the late in the race, and I believe it's going to be a 5-second post-race penalty added to his time, which might impact his third place position.
I think
possibly
it will,
handing
Larry.
it to Ian Patience, now finishing
right.
on the podium.
Yeah, so that definitely could move Patience up to the third step of the podium. I thought the gap between the two drivers was a bit under a second at the checkered, so could definitely alter things there. All right, so Larry, let's go and take a look now as we finish up at Donington at what we've got coming up on the series, the different Ricmotech series in the next couple of weeks. And coming up, it is going to be it is going to be endurance. We'll call it endurance week or weeks coming up here, because next Monday night, and that is November 13th, the Ricmotech World Challenge returns, and we are going to be heading to Monza for our second 90-minute race of the season. Those are for our GTP and GT3 drivers. And then in 2 weeks, Monday night, November 20th, the SportsCar Series returns to Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. I guess we'll call it an endurance race. It is a 75-minute race as opposed to 60 minutes over the majority of the season here, but always great fun. And just like traffic is difficult here at Donington, it's always problematic there at Michelin Raceway as well, so should be a great time. And then finally, join us in January when the Ricmotech Club Sports Series returns. Actually, it's not the Club Sports Series. It is the Touring Car Cup. Kevin Ford. It is the Touring Car Cup for our MX-5 Cup cars, as well as the GR86 Cup cars. Again, that will be starting in January. All times 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday night. So for Larry Left in the Cloud, for John Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Monday night from Monza. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.